Welcome to Jackal DIY and Tech. So I had an idea of putting as many fans as I can into Jonsbo C6. And the bigger the better. So how did the mode go? No idea. This will be my first time testing it out. You'll let me know, and also the tests will let me know. As for the fans, I've added two Tremolrites TLC14, one on the top and one on the bottom, which you cannot see. So those two will be the intakes. Then I have added two Tremolrites B8W, so this is white, so B8. One is on the top, will be exhaust, and one is here, it will be an intake, but ideally this one would be tilted in this direction so that the intake ear would push in this direction, like so. I couldn't tilt it in the way that I wanted because of the GPU and a bit of a limited space. Now the biggest mod is obviously on the side, as you can see. This will be intake, this will be outtake, and I also have an outtake at the front. Also the two 80mm fans come with this nice mounting mechanism. So you have long screws for nice nuts. I think these are just the pads that you can use, or actually, so these are the washers, as can be seen from this side, because a hole is punched through. Well, not through, but you do have a hole cutout. I would wish that this mechanism was also included in the 40mm version, but that one only comes with the 4 screws, which is kinda sad. But what the 40mm version does have, which this one 8 and the 12 do not have, is a PWM connector so that you can actually connect multiple fans together. I didn't know that, so why is that important? Well, if you don't have enough fan headers, in this case the motherboard only has 2, you will connect this to the motherboard and then you have a splitter, in this case 1, 2, 3. One is the main one, it provides a signal, so the yellow wire. The two other ones will spin with the same velocity as the first one. So in this case I can connect 3 fans to one header, but I have 7 fans in the PC case. Now I could only use 2 of those had I known that this 140mm version comes with that plug, but since I didn't know that, I actually used something else, which is a fan hub. In this case, it can connect up to 8 fans, or maybe 10. It most likely will not be visible. I just have a sticker visible down here, but I have connected 3 fans to this one. And lastly, this one, the 80mm one, is connected actually to the 140mm fan on the bottom. And that's because I had no idea how to actually connect them. I would have to connect this fan and this fan first before I actually put the GPU in. And that's because you don't have any space to do this mod, unless you have a long cable. So how do you put these 2 fans in? The bottom one is fairly simple. You can slide it in like so and push it down. This one was easy, but I've done it at the end. I've done the same way this one, so like so, push it down and then I slid it up. But what you will notice is that I had to take this out, so I had to take out this clip, so the panel will not be able to clip in. So that is one thing that you have to consider, unless you don't have a fan on the bottom, or if you have a shorter fan, so that this fan could slide all the way maybe to this clip. Then you would have enough space for this clip. Now in the front, if you want to install as many fans as you want, this is how that looks like. As you can see, in this case I also had to take this one out. Okay, so this one fits in. That's a surprise. Now as you can see, this is tilted. I can maybe push this down, so no luck with that one. In any case, I think this is sturdy enough for the fan to not move. So I also had to take out 2 screws, otherwise the fan housing is in the way. And also this plate has a little bit of a groove on the other side, and that is why it's really hard to move this down. Now previously I did notice that this area in the front was getting very hot, so maybe I did not have enough airflow, air speed, or maybe not enough fans. So this one will now blow out, so will the top on this one. The bottom two will be intakes. This one will also be intake, so it should blow down, and this one will also blow the air out. Now the top fan I had to install before this one. I just shifted it all the way to the side and to the back, and at the back it's actually leaning on the top of the motherboard. So this one is quite sturdy. Here it's leaning on this cable that goes to the motherboard. So let me close this. I'll have to put the feet on the bottom, and also don't forget the filter. So the bottom is done. All I have to do is put on the sides and do a test. So maybe I can do a test with this panel off. I have an issue with the edges. This fan will not be able to stay in unless I move it. Maybe I can close it now, we'll see. So it is closed, but it's not the best, as you can see. Maybe you see better from the top. It is sticking out a little bit, but not too much. And maybe I'll just take this one out again. It's not really any better, so that one could stay in, but I'll just leave it out for now. Doesn't look good, as you can see. So this one would have to stay in, and there is a little bit of a bow, but for a quick test this should be okay. Oh yeah, so this one also can't close because this one is too close. Something like this. So 7 fans, and we'll see how the temperatures look like. And if this space will also be as hot as it was before. I've previously done a simple test, and I will do so again just now by running Heaven benchmark for about 5 minutes with OBS running in the back, and also hardware info sensors, and I will be displaying the GPU. So that was a fun experiment. Were the results any good? Not really. So you can put 7 fans inside, but you have to compromise with the case, because you have to take this clip out, the one here, and also 2 screws. But if you don't want any compromises, but still want to have the most fans and the biggest fans that you can get, then you can have an 80mm fan on the top, one 40mm fan. This one you can keep inside, the 120mm fan. You only have to position it a bit down so that it goes between these 2 screws. And also you will then push down on it, and you can put an 80mm fan in between. Is this the best solution? Most definitely not, but the fan will at least do something, and you have enough clearance so that you can put the panel on. So let's do that. We should also be clear of any cables, and this fan on the top, well, it's the only one that has issues with clearance, but that is because of the power supply that I have. The cables at the end are strengthened, which is good, but that also means that they are quite stiff. But that is only because I have the SSD mounted in the back. And it's something that I didn't do, and I should have when I had the GPU out, so I could access it. So maybe I can do that now. I'll take these two screws out and put the SSD down a little bit further. So hopefully that will mean that this fan will also go down. And as you may have noticed, this too is a mod. And you have enough space to place, I would say, 2 SATA SSD drives in these holes. So now this power supply connector is a lot more loose. Previously it was touching the connector on the SSD, so it had basically no space. So the SSD is mounted, and the fan at the top should also have enough space, so I should be able to close it up, as well as the panel on the front. So the panel on the front now has no bowing, even though the fan is here in the middle, and that is because it is in between those two brackets, and the screws also don't impact it in any way. And let's see, does it close? It does. Nice. So if anyone asks what kind of mods can you do to a Jonsbo C6 case, well, if you have an M80X motherboard, an ATX power supply, you can have 2 fans on the top, 1 in the front, 2 on the side, and 1 on the bottom. Now the GPU itself also has 2 fans, and the CPU cooler, which is low profile, also has a fan. And not to mention, the power supply also has its own fan. Can you do any more mods? Well, I did show you how to mount an SSD on the back, and you can easily put 2 SSDs on the back, maybe even 3, who knows, you'd have to test it out. That's it for this video. If you found it useful, subscribe to the channel, and we'll do something else in the next one.